In here, I'm looking at legal, moral, cultural and ethical issues. So for the OCR A-Level Computer Science, I'm going to be looking at behaviour monitoring. Behaviour monitoring is in many ways is to do with how people use their computers. And this could be employees within a company, or it could be people at home and the things that they're doing and the things that they're using that computer for. So there are very clear rules here, such as along the lines of the Data Protection Act and certainly GDPR, the Regulatory of Investigatory Powers Act, and let's say what we call a Snoopers Charter over who can monitor behaviours and who can monitor what people are doing. So particularly the government has rights to sort of survey people and to monitor their usage, such as things like emails, phone calls, online activity, etc., in the interest of national security and ensuring that that's deemed as appropriate. It does, however, raise concerns over potential overreach and, again, the abuse of people's privacy and rights to their sort of freedoms to behave as they want to. There are obviously workplace aspects to this, so employees sort of monitoring their staff and what their staff are doing. And again, this kind of feeds into other aspects around sort of societal kind of norms and what's kind of appropriate or not appropriate. So, for example, you may have heard of Edward Snowden and the leaks around that. And again, kind of what's appropriate and kind of when is data, should that be kept secure, and when is it in the public interest for people to know about it. There are ethical aspects around this, around kind of when is monitoring too excessive and appropriate, when are you entitled to privacy versus the need to actually invade people's privacy in many ways so that you can monitor people to prevent things like crime. And again, the whole kind of bias around that monitoring, and are you monitoring people just purely based on their racial profiling, or is it because of their previous behaviours on the computer, and what kind of causes that justification? Other aspects around this, the whole psychological aspects of being surveyed, like you can argue that if you're being watched constantly, it would become stressful, doesn't it? It makes you feel potentially more anxious and therefore would make you feel vulnerable as well. And again, do we want people to feel vulnerable whilst they're online, or do we want them to feel quite open to sort of express themselves and enjoy the communications that they have with people? There are some moral considerations around this, so kind of when is it okay to, like I say, kind of monitor people's behaviours and to watch people versus when are you just invading their privacy. And a big one is the right to be forgotten. In many ways, this is an issue with the internet, that once something's on the internet, arguably it can never be got rid of. But people make mistakes, don't they? And people want to be able to move on in their lives, and therefore there's a whole aspect around kind of just because they did something once 10 years ago, should that still be online? Should that still be causing them a problem in their lives and in their sort of futures? Some cultural aspects to the monitoring of this. So there are obviously, again, different attitudes around the world to this. Some cultures are kind of very strict in monitoring what they expect of people versus kind of much more open societies, in if you want to use that term, where people are being trusted more to do what they want. And again, kind of the use of things like facial recognition. So if you're out and about walking through a town, is it appropriate to have your face recognised and therefore know exactly who you are? Because again, that creates the whole patterns of monitoring and tracking people's behaviours, which could be used for all sorts of different situations that aren't necessarily appropriate. The other argument, of course, is that if you know exactly who everybody is in a town centre, if there was a crime committed, you know who you need to speak to and therefore can improve things like crime. So again, there's that dilemma that comes with this. So thank you for watching. I hope you found that useful. Please do like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again.